Fortunately, I have the ability to recognize either a big hole where something's missing in an industry, or something that's being done so poorly that it would only take a little tweak to do it right and produce something through rapid development and deployment that is meaningful, cost-effective, and everyone wins.
It's like walking into a room and you look above the eye line where nobody looks. And you look up and, like, I do this in a restaurant or a business. I look at the ceiling. In every room I walk into, I look at the ceiling and I go, is there acoustic treatment in here? Did they do anything to... And I'll walk into like random cafes and restaurants. I'll go look up and I'll see acoustical panels on the ceiling. And I'll be like, I want to go here.
You'll be able to have a quiet dinner there.
Yeah. So that special ability is to look outside of where the blinders of where everybody else is looking. And all of a sudden you see this gap, this gaping hole. You go,
right,
I'm going to fill that.
George the Tech.
Hi, everybody. George the Tech. We're continuing our series of our trusted partner interviews today with Jonathon Grant, who I can't even begin to introduce him because his variety of skills and abilities and what he has built, it's just so hard for me to introduce. I'm just going to go right to it. Jonathon, how you doing?
I'm good, George. How you doing? I hope I can live up to all that. Yeah.
So, Jonathon, you came to me as a client, right? And our goal was to get a good sounding recording from your home studio, right?
Right. Yeah. I had built this, and I wanted to make sure I did it right. So I hired you, 3 years ago?
Was it that long ago? Wow.
It might be. Yeah. November is 4 years for me. So, yeah.
At the peak of the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you're still here.
Yeah, exactly. I survived the pandemic.
One, you didn't die. Two, you still have a voiceover booth. There's quite a few people who started a voiceover journey during the pandemic and have not stuck with it. And you're still here.
And it's hard if you can't invest in your craft and in your recording space and your recording chain. It's difficult. It takes effort and a little bit of treasure.
Give us, in a nutshell, a 5-minute background like that's gotten you to be the person you are today in terms of your skill sets, your variety of experience.
So a short resume. I'm old. Well, I'm not that old. No, I've served in 2 branches of the military. I served in the U.S. Army, and I'm a U.S. Marine. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, didn't really have the skills that I may need to pursue a career. And I started out as a groundskeeper at an apartment community. I left that industry 7 years to the day later as a vice president for a publicly traded company. I was running about $500 million of assets for them, spread across 11 cities in 3 states. And at the tail end of that career, as I'm a go-getter, but at the tail end of that that career in property management, I had a really huge portfolio and a lot of employees, and the staff turnover was about 72% in that industry annually. That's a lot. So I went and got a book on building websites at CompUSA, which they're not even in business anymore.
No.
And I built a website to staff just my own portfolio, and I decided to make it nationwide. And in my first week, I had over 5,000 hits, and had to do some innovative marketing because there were no search engines back then. There was nothing. There was.
What year would that have been approximately?
98, 99.
Dogpile. Yeah.
Dogpile. I remember Mama and Dogpile. That was it. So anyhow, I had 5,000 hits, and I walked away from a 6-figure job, and that was, this November will be 25 years ago. And in those 25 years, I've been creating websites and platforms that connect people to opportunity. And one was a job site that we've connected we're really close to 1 million people in a single industry that we've helped find an opportunity. And then we created a weather site, and we literally invented street-level hurricane mapping, where we could tell you at your address the wind speeds, the direction, potential damage, whether it's curtain wall, roof, what have you, at any point along a hurricane forecast. And
so if you'd really need to board up those windows or not.
Yeah, we could tell you. We could tell you 3 days in advance, as a matter of fact.
My cousin in Melbourne, Florida, probably uses that.
He may. So our products have been integrated now into the National Hurricane Center's maps and products.
Great.
We were used by FEMA, by NASA, Clear Channel back then. I think it's iHeartRadio now. They used it on all their stations as well. And I sold that off a long time ago. And ended up...
So you've exited a couple of times.
Yeah, I owned half of a dating site, and I'm happily married, but it was a good market. Just different platforms, and that, again, connecting people to opportunity or safety.
Yeah.
So it worked out pretty well. It worked out pretty well.
But that's the through line. Connecting to people opportunity is the through line.
Yeah. It's interesting that, fortunately, I have the ability to recognize either a big hole where something's missing in an industry, or something that's being done so poorly that it would only take a little tweak to do it right and produce something through rapid development and deployment that is meaningful, cost-effective, and everyone wins.
It's like walking into a room and you look above the eye line where nobody looks. And you look up and, like, I do this in a restaurant or a business. I look at the ceiling. In every room I walk into, I look at the ceiling and I go, is there acoustic treatment in here? Did they do anything to... And I'll walk into like random cafes and restaurants. I'll go look up and I'll see acoustical panels on the ceiling. And I'll be like, I want to go here.
You'll be able to have a quiet dinner there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that special ability is to look outside of where the blinders of where everybody else is looking. And all of a sudden you see this gap, this gaping hole. You go,
right,
I'm going to fill that.
Well, and I've always wondered why folks miss that, because opportunity abounds. For every opportunity that I have taken up, I've passed on 10 or 15 that would have done okay. So I guess the best description is serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I've done that for years, and it's worked out pretty well.
So why voiceover?
Well, it's funny. JMC asked me the same thing. He's like, what in the world?
What are you thinking? You're a middle-aged white guy trying to start voiceover? Are you out of your
exactly.
mind?
What's wrong with you? Well, so my whole life I've wanted to do voiceover, and I've had plenty of feedback on my voice.
How did you know? How did you know you wanted to do voiceover?
So I'm that guy driving down the freeway, and you look at the guy over there, and he's carrying on, and you think I'm singing. I'm not. I'm like, WDVD, Detroit. Yeah. I'm mimicking and imitating the imaging.
Whatever you hear on the radio.
Whatever. Yeah. I just love it. I do to this day. It's so funny. I can't even watch a TV show without introducing the season premiere.
You drive your family nuts, right?
I do. They won't watch
doing
anything
it for
with
years.
me. Yeah. So the pandemic came along, and my businesses, we've all worked remote for decades. So we were already used to that. And I'm like, man, I think this might be a good opportunity. Everything's quiet right now. So I think what I might do is finally pursue my passion, which is voiceover. And I took a deep dive into the study of the science of sound. And I've
learned that you take deep dives in most things that you do. You're really an enthusiast.
Well, I took this. So the inside finished space here is all primes. And I worked this out to the 5th point of reflection. So it's diamond shaped, and you've seen a diagram of it. Yeah. Actually, this is a little different than the last time you saw it. I was getting a little bit of room ring on one of these walls, so I added these larger floor-to-ceiling panels.
Yeah.
For more absorption. Solved it.
Yep.
So anyhow, I decided I'm at a point where I can actually focus on this now, and I handed off some of my responsibilities to somebody that I could trust, and then they immediately caught COVID. So I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. It was less than a year after I started getting into it that I had this booth done, because as I was learning, I was building this.
Yeah.
And then I got a hold of you. In its first iteration, you had me at a noise floor of minus 72, good quality sound.
Yeah.
And it's been improved actually since then. How I got into voiceover was simply passion. I have always wanted to pursue it. And there are plenty of people in voiceover who probably shouldn't have, and they have a passion for it.
Sure.
And
sure.
I've done pretty well. I've booked some big global brands, and it's
passion and patience. You've been wanting to do this for so many years, and you just finally were like, now is the time.
Yeah, and it took me, business. So again, businesses present themselves, and if it's an opportunity that needs to be seized, I'm going to seize it. And frankly, that's why we're meeting today, is to talk about that.
Yeah.
So in the build-up stage, growing my business, I got to a point where I felt like at my then skill level, I'm booking about where I'm maxed out. And there are the top shelf folks that, man, it's so competitive on the platforms that I need to go out and start sourcing my own work. So I looked at CRMs, and I started sourcing leads, There was some inspiration from a few businesses that seemed a little shady to me. So I'm like, well, I'm going to do this for myself. So I wrote some algorithms and some bots and crawlers and put them to work. And
As
started,
you do.
Yeah, as one does. I put those to work. And while they're out there crawling for information, I started working on my interface. And I was just building this for myself.
And while you're building, what's the timeline now? You're about 2 years back? You were
No,
starting this?
this would be month 14.
Oh, so we're only 14 months out. So
And
at the
it's only
time
been
you were
live.
building all this, there was this technology that we all are obsessed about now. Machine learning, AI.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
is there an intersection here?
No.
Are you working completely outside of that world?
All hand scripted. VO leads itself between the database, stored procedures, and code. There's 3 programming languages, is 243,000 lines of code. I wrote all of it.
Wow.
So there's no machine learning unless
Wow.
it's me teaching the machine
Wow.
to get
Wow.
out there and get with it. Get to
Now,
work.
this is speaking out of school here, but why? Is it because you didn't have the institutional knowledge of what machine learning and AI tools are available to help you? Or it's just you don't trust or believe in using those tools to do that task?
I have a strong opinion on AI. I like AI. I do. I don't like where it interferes in what we do for a living. I don't like where it crosses over, and I don't think it's the end of the world. Between legislation and NAVA working to get that legislation passed, I think eventually we'll be fine.
We'll figure it out. We'll navigate.
Yeah, it's going to be a
through
little
the
bumpy.
storm.
But why I built this myself is I think it's control. And when you start looking at anything, you have 2 issues here. First, you have anything that's packaged. As when you buy software, whether that's a direct install or a subscription online package, you are at the mercy of whoever developed that and whatever updates they push down. And when it comes to AI, I believe that when you see AI-generated images and when you see AI-generated video or audio, be that voice or what have you, you can tell. And when you deploy AI as your sole product, it cheapens the value because you can tell it's not real. It devalues what you're doing.
Not only that, but once you have an understanding of what AI is actually doing, it's not even that. It's also that you're literally in some way stealing intellectual property.
Absolutely.
And the whole process of doing that.
When you say intellectual property, it's also intellectually lazy. If this is writing scripts for you, you know what? Go get good, go get excellent, and write. If you need to write, be good at your craft, be good at producing video, audio, all of that. Remember when spell check came out for Word? And everybody's like, oh, that's Satan. Nobody's going to be able to spell in 20 years. Guess what? Nobody can spell 20 years later. It's true. And
calculators are now welcomed in the classroom overwhelmingly. Right?
Yeah, so when you introduce new technology, and it's inevitable, everybody's afraid at first, and then over time, we just allow it to happen, and we become more and more intellectually lazy. And
we lean more and more on machines to literally learn for us.
Right, and I just find that to be lazy, and I'm not a lazy person. I like to make things happen, and if there's not an earthquake, let's make one. Let's go and break something and fix it. Yeah. So that's why I build it myself. And plus, as I went around looking at CRMs and different packages and software to put together my own marketing program, because I'm not just going to use a notepad to keep track of this stuff, I found things that were bloated, that were ugly, that were missing things, or they were so over-engineered that I'd have to ignore 80% of it. Just to find what I want to use.
Yeah.
So I built my own.
We've been beating around the bush for a long time in this conversation. What did you build?
I built voleads.com. And what it was, so the story actually leads to, was I was building this for myself, and I discovered an existing business out there that was really taking advantage of voice talent when it came to sourcing leads for them and how they were fulfilling direct email marketing. And I'm not going to name their name. I really want to talk about the answer and the solution.
Yeah.
So as I was building this for myself, I saw some videos that these folks put out, and I'm like, nope, you know what? There is a need for this in the industry. And then I looked closer at the industry and discovered it's completely upside down, for one thing, because the talent is paying for the job instead of the person who's sourcing talent paying for the talent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Anyhow, I'm looking at all of that, and I can make something for the community that's meaningful and useful, that's cost effective, that is tailored to voiceover specifically, instead of trying to strip out all the stuff you don't need. And,
Right.
oh, you're disappointed because it's missing something you do.
Right.
Let's just build something that for the entire community and make it pennies on the dollar, for vetted working pros. If you're a newbie, this isn't for you. This is for a working professional who is booking work. So my personal outreach system has been built into a website called VOleads.com. VOleads.com helps working voice talent pros source leads of likely VO buyers through production houses and what have you. We're over 12,000 vetted leads right now. When I say vetted, when we publish a lead, we have the name, the business email address for 100% of them. We have their professional business profile for 100% of them. We have the company address, phone number. I even added in lat, long, UTC offsets and all that, so you know what time zone that they're in.
Nice.
And then, so when you're reaching out, it's not midnight there.
Yeah.
And then for the company, we have, like I said, their address, their phone number, the company website. 99% of them have the company LinkedIn profile and up to 5 other business social media profiles for them as well.
Yeah.
So, and we don't publish anything that hasn't been delivered. We vet all of that data. I even have a software program that runs and verifies the web address of every single one of these websites that we find. And then it reports back what it found and then updates the database with the final landing page so that you're not skipping all over the place when you're out there trying to use the data.
Sure.
So we built a system that, I say we, so we sound huge. There's only a couple of us. But anyhow, we built this system so that it's easy for the talent to use. I was talking to our friend Nancy Wolfson, and she said the best thing. She said, as a voice talent, you never expected your wild dream you're going to run off and join the circus and be a performer. And then spend all of your time in the ticket booth.
Right.
Trying to sell the tickets to get people to watch you perform.
Right.
VO Leads is designed to reduce, if not eliminate, your ticket booth time so that you can perform. So basically, you come into the site and it's credit based. So you would come in and buy credits. We give everybody 10 for free because we want you to test drive it. Is this for you? You decide.
Yep.
So, and we give you those 10 to take a test drive and you pick the data. You go through, we let you click through to every single company website. We give full access. Our transparency is the most important thing in our platform.
Yeah.
So here they all are. We've already found industry job titles of likely VO buyers, the production houses, the ad agencies, and what have you. You can go through, click, look at the work on their website, see evidence that they actually do buy voiceover, and you come back. Now it's our turn as the talent. We can create the shortlist. So we shortlist them. And you create the ones that you want, and you can unlock your shortlist. You just swap your credits that you have acquired through the system and unlock those. You can download those immediately. Take them off to your CRM, plug them in. If you're over at VoiceOverview, if you're on Nimble, if you're at one of these other sites, go for it. You unlock that data, you licensed it, have a blast. It's immediate and it's right now. And then also when you unlock those in groups, we keep track of that group that you unlocked so that you can download them sequentially so you don't double up, so you don't get duplicates in your system and create a mess. So we tried to kind of think it through, the user workflow. And we built an entire suite of business management tools so that you can manage your business. And I'm not sure you saw this part when I gave you the demo. That was quite a while ago. We were early days. So you can record auditions, bookings. The system's smart enough so everybody starts out as a lead, and then they're like, George, I listened to your demos, man. That's amazing stuff. We added you to our roster. Can you send me your rate card? That lead is now a prospect. That's hot. And then the minute you book a job with them, now it's a client. So they exist in 3 stages. So the system is smart enough that if a lead sends you an audition and you record it in the system, it'll automatically make that a prospect for you. It'll keep track of that. If you booked a job, even if they come back and say, hey, you won that audition, we let you convert that audition with a single click to a booking, which also makes them a client. So it's pretty cool. And we also keep track of all of your add-on charges. So here's your VO rate. Here's I don't want file splits. I want editing. Can you do a music bed? Or here's a big script change. So all of that is integrated into the system. And you don't have to use it. It's a minimal effort and all the way up to you can track as much data as you want. But here's the twist on those tools. It's free. You don't have to buy leads from us. If you are a working voiceover professional and you meet our criteria, which I'll share right after this, and you meet our criteria to become a member, those tools are free. Bring your own leads. We don't want your leads. Your data is your data.
Wow,
we're not going to jump through all of our hoops, but those tools are free for you. If you need integrated billing and if you need things like that, VoiceOverview has a great program over there, and we highly recommend.
She's another trusted partner of ours. We just spoke with Danny a couple weeks ago. We got a video you guys can check out about that product. Another great tool and resource for actors.
Yeah, and we don't have that level of feature now. It is on our development list, but we're not real committed to that right now because we're working on a super secret project that's coming next.
Okay.
But to become a member of VO Leads, we had to pick criteria that doesn't open us up to discrimination. So we had to pick criteria that are an indicator of professional working voice talent. And here's what that is. You have a website, a professional VO website that's under your control. So it's not a link to a profile on one of the platforms or freelance websites.
Right.
This is your website that's under your control. You need to have an email address that matches that website when you register. You don't have to use that in the wild. I know a lot of people use Gmail and whatnot, and that's fine.
Right.
But to register with us, that is the last key that tells us that's your website and it's under
a company
your control.
website.
And then the final thing is the most important. You must have quality demos on your website above the fold. And above the fold means one of the first things that your visitors encounter are your pro demos. We don't want to hear refrigerators running, kids screaming, airplanes going over. We want to hear a solid performance, a solid VO performance free of background noise and artifacts. So here, for example, we had the last person, in fact, I don't know if he showed up on your doorstep. We sent him to you. We had a denial recently that I think he had his gaming rig in his booth or his gaming desk was his booth, one or the other, but the fans were just screaming. I could actually hear his water cooling system. I mean, I knew exactly what that was.
I think people there's what we call nose blindness, right? You don't smell your environment. People also don't hear their environment when they are steeped in it day after hour.
Right.
Until the one time you notice how noisy your environment is when the power goes out in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and it's silent.
And you're like, oh, wow.
And it's
this
creepy.
is what quiet is like. So you recognize that sound immediately. You're like, okay, we got some work to do.
Right. So we saved those registrations, and he also needed some coaching. So what we did is we send them off for some help with their audio. And in this guy's case, it was probably, move that computer out of your space and let's start over. But he also needed some coaching, and I won't name coaches. In this industry, a leaf can fall off of a tree and it'll hit 3 coaches on the way to the ground. So we love all of our coaches. We have several of them listed on our website as resources that either the people involved with VO Leads have used or that we have carefully vetted.
Yeah, exactly. Just like you're one of our trusted partners, you have folks that you feel are trusted.
Right. Yeah, we want to make sure, because these are people that can get you ready for direct marketing. Another issue that we run into are that there are people that meet all of the criteria, but they don't know what they're doing.
Yep.
And we have some resources that we're not affiliated with, but we're happy to recommend and send people off to those.
And
for
all
training.
of that happens without putting a credit card into the system yet, right?
Yeah, you can register. You get a full review of your website, your audio. You get, we're not audio technicians, but we know good and
you know it
bad.
sounds good. And if it sounds good,
exactly. I learned that from you. And then you also get 10 free credits. And with your 10 free credits, guess what you get access to? All of the business tools for free forever, and the entire database. We don't limit what you can look at. Go take a look. See if this is for you, because we want you to make an informed decision.
So a credit kicks in when you do what action? What costs a credit?
Okay, so we're going to give you 10 credits. 1 credit equals 1 lead. So when you want to unlock a lead, so you can unlock from that short list we talked about. You can unlock 1 at a time if you want. That would take forever. And then you can also, if you're too busy, let's say you've got a couple hundred credits and you're like, I want to unlock 100 random. Click, it's done. Download, give it to your assistant to put into your CRM. Have a great day. Get to work.
So what are you getting? What's the deliverable when you do that?
The deliverable is either a CSV or an XLS file with all the common columns for just about any CRM.
Yep.
All 15 data points all clean and organized for you in the order that you unlocked them. And
very cool.
So, yeah, and all you have to do is match your column headers and import it to wherever you're going.
Now, I'll ask you this. Where do you go with that data? What do you prefer? What do you like to use as the next point for that data to go? I guess that would be a CRM?
So VO Leads is right now, as of today, 80% of a CRM. But I wrote my own.
Yeah.
So that's a phase that's literally coming in August, and I'll just tell you about it. I have a full CRM that I've written for myself that mails out, and I can track opens, clicks, reads, multiple opens. I have 5 contacts that go through, 5 in a row. And I can add in their name, their company name, and that.
Yeah.
Hey, I was visiting their website. So I can somewhat, this is more of a generic outreach because I'm not trying to book a job. I'm trying to make a handshake. I'm trying to get introduced.
This is creating the relationship.
Right. So far, I personally am on 72 rosters from the system. So, and I know it's working because people are telling me all the time that they're booking work.
You're not just the president. You're also the client.
Hair Club for Men. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm going to be joining that too in a minute. But yeah, so I actually wrote my own, but I don't have any problem if people take their data off. Mark Scott, he uses Nimble and he really likes that. In fact, I think he might have a course to teach folks how to use that.
Probably.
I don't have an opinion on those because I don't use them. I built my own.
Yeah.
But I own, just so that you're aware, I own the server. I own multiple mail servers. I own the database. My job site sends, 16,000 emails a minute, matching people to jobs and all that around the nation.
Yeah, that's no small feat. You can't do that with just a Gmail.
No. So that's something that we're working on. That is going to be a white glove. You need to be a top voice talent who's booking a lot of work before we'll allow access to that. But that's coming. And then eventually we're hoping to have a full CRM built into VO Leads. It's close. It's just not there. The only thing that's missing is the email component, and we're not sure we want to facilitate that.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
Oh boy, is email tricky. I had no idea how tricky email was until I wanted to send an email from my Drip. I use Drip to do email blasts, and I wanted to have a reply to email address that's service@georgethe.tech. Could not believe how hard that was. I couldn't believe it because Google does not want that to happen. They don't want, Gmail doesn't want you to do that.
They strip those headers out.
That's why there's no reply at email addresses all over the place. It was annoying no replies.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have a no reply.
Yeah.
I wanted people to reply to an email that goes to their inbox that looks like it's coming from me because it is.
Right.
And just write us back. I didn't want any hoops. So that was tricky. I couldn't believe how tricky that was.
Yeah, this system can connect to any SMTP server. It can connect to IMAP. It can connect to Google, the Outlook platform, the Google Workspaces platform, all of Apple Mail. So, and actually that software I wrote last June.
Yeah.
So a year ago now, and it's what I use personally.
Well, it's so tricky because the mail senders are on the hook for spam, right?
Well, sure, yeah. So, and it's really just a quick tech thing, and this is important for everybody to know, is that February of this year, February 24th.
That's when all hell broke loose for me.
Yeah, I bet. So, yeah, Google implemented some new policies, and now they're doing IP restrictions.
Yep.
So if your sender, or if you as a sender, if you're not splitting that out across multiple IP addresses, because if it's bulk, the guy doing the one-off emails where you're banging out 25 a day, you're fine. I wouldn't worry about that at all. But if you start sending volume, like I have my personal VO, I send out over 400 a day. It's automated, but it's split though across 4 IPs. I've got 4 different mail servers, and it's split out. And the reply to comes to me, but then I also have all those set up so that I can track opens, replies, and whatnot.
Yeah, this is some advanced stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also have a library running against the replies that will check and see if they're like, hey, that sounded great. We added you to our roster. Can you send me your rate sheet? And the system automatically will remove them from it's not going to mail them again. Right, and it marks that as an opportunity and marks it as a prospect automatically. So it's pretty advanced stuff that is going to be available to a very small limited seating probably ever in its lifetime 50 people, ever.
And for you to limit it to that small number, is that because you realize that along with that is going to require a degree of support?
It's all automated. No, it's not that. Here's the reason. So with the Can Spam Act of 2003, if you send one email that wasn't signed up for, that they didn't opt in for, that's spam. Just one.
Yep.
That's enough. So we've taken an approach with how we built VO leads, how we source the data, who we allow to use it, and who we're willing to work with at different levels.
Yeah.
To
protect your company.
Well, it's not just us. It's an everyone wins.
Yeah.
So we want the talent to win. Here's where you win. You win on a time savings. It takes you an hour to source one good vetted lead, and you're not going to get 15 data points. And then you're going to email that lead, and it's going to bounce. Right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So we're giving you deliverable email. And we know it's going to bounce. And what we do is if you buy credits from us, we know that there's going to be bounces in there because people leave. So we're going to give you an extra 5% on top of that just to cover some of those bounces. Yeah. But what we want everyone to win. So in winning for the talent, you're winning on price. You're saving a ton of time. And you're only competing with people as good or better than you. So there aren't people in here accessing the system that you're competing with that are just creating noise. Background noise that the production houses. So then the production houses win. The production houses win because vetted voiceover professionals are contacting them using our data.
And the production house doesn't know that the data is filtered or coming from VO leads, or they do?
They don't. And at this point, but we're hoping to earn street cred. We're not going to buy it. We want to earn it in the industry where the corporation's name is legit VO.
Yeah.
And we want to give people a badge, our vetted professionals. We want to give them a badge that they can put with their opt-in, give this badge. If the production studio sees that and they click that, it'll come to your profile and it'll something fancy with a gold-plated platinum badge that says, this is a vetted voice professional with your headshot. Here's his website. Go click and check out his demos.
Yeah.
We're hoping over time, the dream and the hope is that we see that become a brand that's recognizable by these production houses and becomes more likely to be opened because we're only representing professionals.
That's been a tough thing. That's been an elusive thing, is creating a vetting process that's universal and respected. That's definitely tough. I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, if anybody's going to do it, it might be you.
I hope so. We're working on it. We're working on it.
But I like that VO leads, the branding and all that stuff. It's very much like an operations hidden behind the scenes thing. It's not like a lead goes out and it says, sent to you by a VO lead system or whatever. It's
It's your
behind
name.
the scenes.
Yeah. It's everything is in your name. All the replies come to you. There's no middleman. This next service with our mailing service, we're going to give them 3 free email addresses that we can manage so we can protect their working email address. So if anything goes wrong, and we're splitting that across multiple IP addresses, PTR, reverse DNS, all of that. Again, everybody wins. We want to protect them as well. And I've got a ton of IPs we can burn, but we haven't burned any, so we're doing okay.
That's good. Yeah. Well, if you guys have watched this far, you're really into this, obviously. But many of you are going, man, it's a lot of jargon. But I guess the point is it is complicated, and this is probably why it hasn't been done.
Well, let me jump on that real quick, George. So what George is telling you is that, yes, it's scary and it looks horrible. And we view our mission is to simplify that and not have to talk like this. You come in, you get your leads, you download them, and you can email them, and we're taking care of everything else behind the scenes for you. And that's the whole point. So
I just love that it's a product that you built it because you realized it wasn't being done and you needed it, which absolutely resonates with me, as you can imagine, because of the Try booth, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Rick Wasserman invented and designed it because it did not exist. And you can go online all you want on Amazon, buy Snap booths and all these other things. They are not a Try booth, and they don't sound the same, and they don't give you the same level of performance, ergonomics, etc. That is why it exists. So I'm slipping this plug in just because I can.
Fine, yeah.
But it's true. It's like, it's a nuanced thing that's solving the role of a professional voice actor. And this is why we still sell, not a lot, but 3 to 5 a month on a continual, consistent basis, because people keep discovering it over and over. They just realize, I thought it was just a blanket fort. Right. And then they get it and they go, whoa. This is
they didn't realize.
Yeah. So it's the same. And then the Passport VO from Centrance, which is coming someday soon. again,
I saw the specs. That's crazy.
absolutely bespoke for what we do, voiceover. I love to see this. And this is why I'm so proud to partner with you, Jonathan. And it's so fun to chat with you because, man, it's like you get me buzzing when I hear about all this stuff. It gets me inspired and excited.
Well, thanks, man. We do have some more stuff coming, too.
Well, we'll be talking about that when it comes. But I appreciate your time today. Thanks for hanging out with me for this long. And I hope some of you hung out for this long and watched this whole thing. I hope you all enjoyed it. And thanks for your time, Jonathan.
All right, sir. Thanks much.